Hi, good evening, everyone. Hi, Bhavna. How is it going? Um, Thank you for joining this Instagram live after a while, actually. I'm going to be speaking to Vidhya Subramanian and specifically talk to her about DAMARU, her production that is premiering in Chennai at the Naradagana Sabha. I think Vidya has probably joined. Vidya, just press the accept button there and you will be on the screen with me. Thank you, everyone. Please do stay because I'm sure Vidya is going to say some wonderful things that will help, for all of us to get to know DAMARU just a little better before we watch it. Also, DAMARU is going to premiere in the morning on a Sunday morning. So I urge you all to please, be there and get your tickets. The link for the tickets are available on Aalaap's Instagram handle as well as on Vidya and Sparsha's Instagram handle. Vidya, did you get my invitation to join? Yes. Okay. Request to join. Okay. Yes, Bhavna. So am I. I'm looking forward to DAMARU. Yes. Vidya, I've accepted your invitation. I think it says you're unable to join. Okay. Let me just send you an invitation again. Yeah, there you
Hi.
are. Hi. There is never an Instagram live without some suspense and some
The
like.
starting trouble.
How are you, Vidya?
I'm doing well after a 3 hour rehearsal, feeling energized.
Oh, great. Okay. I'm just feeling extremely exhausted, hoping to energize myself after this conversation.
Okay,
I
I'll,
just
I'll I'll
finished.
do my best. I'll do my
Yeah,
best.
yeah, you better do your best because I'm
Done,
just
done.
out of studying biology for a class six child. So, yeah.
Been
So,
there, done that. Never want to do
yes,
it again.
absolutely. So, Vidya, let's dive in straight. Hi, Maven. Thank you so much for joining in.
Oh,
Thank you,
hi,
everybody.
Maven.
Right. I remember the last time we did this conversation with you and I were not wearing glasses. This time, clearly,
We
age is catching up with both of us, and we're
we proudly do so now.
yeah, we proudly do so now. Yes. So, Vidya, tell me first, what really I want to ask you about the genesis of DAMARU, but I'm also curious to know what came first. Was DAMARU the idea? Sort of did that plant in your head first, or the idea of actually, um, you know, working on an ensemble production? I'm really curious about what happened first.
Yeah. So, many years ago, it sort of starts, I'm starting this like a fairy tale, but many years ago, I had this really wonderful conversation with Jayachandran, S.
Huh?
Jayachandran, scholar
Right.
and yeah,
Right. Of
historian.
course. Yeah.
And this was in Hyderabad,
Mhm.
and I had started thinking about working on a production on the idea of balance, just the word
Okay.
balance. And so I
Okay.
looked at him and I said, "Can you talk?" And you know how he talks so beautifully when all you have to give
I
him is
know.
a word. And
Absolutely.
so first he starts with, "You want to do something on balance, then it has to be about imbalance." So then I said, okay. And then followed a 4 hour conversation. And so
Of
I
course.
decided to think about this a lot more, let it
Mm,
percolate and, sort of leave
mm,
it in the
mm,
back burner.
mm.
After which I was planning another production in the US with my students, and then COVID hit, and then I moved to India, and all of that didn't happen. But all the while, this was in the back of my mind. Then
Right.
one day, I was sort of sitting and thinking about, it as most dancers will do,
Yeah.
just thinking about these random things, such as
Right. Of course.
instruments of the gods and goddesses, right? The
Right.
Saraswati playing the veena, and Krishna playing the flute and all of that. And then the
Right.
Damaru sort of got stuck in my head. And we all know this idea of the Damaru being the origin of sound, the primordial sound of Om,
Mm,
and male and female energies transferred through the center,
mm,
and this amalgamation being the reason for creation and dissolution. All of
mm,
this I knew, so I was intrigued, and I said, okay, let me think about creating a solo piece, just an individual piece on the Damaru, which is where the intrigue started. And then, there is this Alice in Wonderland feeling, right? So you start going down these various rabbit holes, and the Maheshwara Sutra, the 14 sutras, the idea of Om, how it was generated from the instrument, and all of this came into play. And somewhere out of that, instinctively, it felt like it shouldn't be just one composition, that it should be a larger, full-length work. And as always, one thing led to another, and this full production was born. So, as short an answer as I can give.
No, yeah, I still don't. I still want to know another part of this answer, but I'm going to get to that later because I've already, like, my mind's moved to another question, which is really, Vidya, is Damaru the production and investigation of the instrument from the perspective of the form, or is it an investigation of Damaru and the essence of what the instrument stands for?
Absolutely. The title of the work is Damaru Duality.
Right.
So, I've given you the genesis of it. Now, when I was thinking about this as the origin of sound, and and as I said, understood it as the carrier of male and female energies traveling in opposite directions, and blah blah blah. And as I was looking at this, I read this line which said, "Damaru is pure consciousness through which our truest self guides our monkey mind towards perfection." Damaru is the pure consciousness through which our truest self guides our monkey mind towards perfection. Right? So now, when you look at this transfer of energies, and it is twofold. The Damaru is shaped like the infinity symbol. And so this energy flow is constant.
Right.
But it is in opposite directions. And there is a duality in this, the physicality of the instrument itself. And so for me, when I read this sentence, the flashback of that conversation with Jayachandran happened. So then it was this idea of tug and pull between dichotomies.
Right.
So the Damaru then is looking at an instrument that is a symbol of striving for balance, in these dichotomies, and all in search of some seeming alignment with perfection, if you will. Right? And does that even exist? Now, so now every one of us, I feel, holds multiple ways of looking at dualities within us, right? And so these opposites. But are they really twofold, or are they two sides of the same coin? And interchangeable as well. So then I thought, okay, duality itself is then an illusion. I mean, we know the Advaita philosophies and all that, but so it is therefore an illusion. So this pursuit of perfection itself is an illusion. So we're constantly striving, and there is just a lot of chaos and order, again, dualities.
Right.
So then I said, okay, I need to not just look at the instrument. I will be looking at the instrument in this work, the physical instrument, and its shape, its form, its sound, and it is, it's the idea of silence to sound, stillness to movement. All of these dichotomies are explored in the instrument itself, from the instrument itself, the shape of the instrument. But beyond that, I'm looking at dualities in various aspects. So I went ahead and made a huge list of multiple ways we can look at dualities. But then obviously for a work like this, you have to pare it down. So I brought it down to 4 compositions, which each of which explore different kinds of dualities.
Right. Vidya, somehow I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this curiosity for, searching these dualities has sort of been at the sort of like you've been searching this in all your productions. I don't know why, I may be wrong, but I feel like there is this
Yeah,
search. And like you rightly said, sometimes one doesn't actually find the answers. This, what is this? Is this search even, like, is it going to lead us somewhere? Is there a fixed destination? One doesn't know. So do you feel like sort of there is this ambiguous kind of a path that one is treading? I just want to understand, as a thinking dancer, um, what is it like to sort of tread this zone where there is no fixed sort of an
yeah.
answer, a solution, so to speak, but there is sort of a journey? So really, like, does the work itself just become an investigation of a journey, right? That's really what I'm curious about. Yeah.
Totally, completely. So it answers, I mean, in seeking, I don't know that I'm seeking necessarily for solutions or answers. That the end goal is some sort of tangible answer, this
Right.
moment of aha
Right.
moment that
Right.
says, you've solved this
Right.
puzzle. So the intention often is not that, right? So
Right.
when you're similar, I mean, like I said, the Alice in Wonderland situation where you go searching, you find one thing, and that leads to another path, which leads to another path, and you just go on and on and on,
Yeah.
meandering
Yeah.
down various paths. And in that meandering itself is the joy and the solution to life. I mean, after all, every single day we are just trying to put one foot in front of the other. Often, I mean, in the crazy world that we live in today, we try to find order
Right.
in this chaos. We try to find
Right.
order.
Right.
And art
Um,
helps us do that. And yes, you're right that I have always been navigating this seesaw, so this feeling of
balance and balance.
balance is this word I love, right, all the time. But it's imbalance often that one has to become comfortable with in order to even search for this, to begin to search for this balance, I feel.
Right.
So yes,
Yeah. Uh, Vidya, I don't want to make this like a really esoteric
yeah.
conversation because I'm just like
I'm
moving in that direction. But I want to
worrying.
ask you this one question
Yeah.
because you use the word
Mm,
meandering. And I feel like meandering is also like a really tricky word in the context of choreography,
sure,
right?
sure.
Especially in the context of choreography where you are not the only one occupying the stage. So tell us a bit about this word meandering and how you had to actually hold the reins and not really allow yourself to meander too much. Also, because for the first time ever, you're not like, you're not dancing
Mhm.
solo and you're actually sharing energy with, so meandering then becomes that much more tricky.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about meandering and what it was like to share energy with
Excellent.
other dancers.
Excellent question. Yeah, excellent question. So, first of all, to clarify, I did work on 12 full length productions with my students in the
Students,
Bay Area when I was,
of course.
yeah,
Yeah,
with
yeah,
my
yeah,
students.
yeah, yeah.
But this is the first time I'm working with dancers who are
What?
not my
Not.
students
Yeah,
and
yeah.
whom I have auditioned and selected for the purpose of this work.
Right, right.
Now, going to your question, so I went looking, in this work, in creating this work, I went looking for dancing bodies irrespective of their styles. I went, my goal was to find expression for this work, Damaru, through
Right,
the collective dancing bodies,
right.
not to homogenize and not to make everyone look the same or dance the same, which is why I consciously actually chose dancers from different sub styles, not just banis, but different sub styles
Substyles.
within their parent banis, right?
Right.
And the communication for me, initially, I will say, was quite awkward.
I can imagine.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was quite awkward because these are not dancers whom I have history with, whom I've not danced with or taught or any of that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But as usual, I love to put myself out of my comfort zone. So
Mm-hmm.
this is an area that I ventured into, right? So now these dancers came with this immense sense of curiosity, a thirst to learn and to understand the process of creating something, and just happy to be in this kinship, in this togetherness in dancing, and so that created a sense of comfort, if you will. And slowly we found our rhythm through this process, right? Now, coming to the solo work question, I think for me, yes, it has been a huge challenge because when I'm dancing solo, whether it is in practice or on stage, there is a luxurious meandering, as you said, and this sense of freedom and sort of a floating away that you feel where you're not constrained by things like number of times and things like the tripataka must be this way, or the swastikam must be that way. So none of those constraints exist. So but here it is such a challenge to consciously remember, especially because we're from different styles, to remember, for me to remember, because if I meander, then it becomes a mistake for the group, you see. So
Exactly.
so that responsibility is bigger in that sense. So it has been a huge challenge, I must say. And but like I said, this, for me, it has been always been important to find the connection between the human and the dance. And it's the same here. So every dancer for me comes in with this sense of who they are. And there is a coherence, there is a group coherence, obviously, but the individual has to shine and sparkle for me.
Vidya, did you say human in the dance?
Yeah, the human in the dance. And the dance in the human, of course. But
Right, of course.
both ways.
Sort of,
And it has, it's just reinforced for me, I think, this sense of not taking myself too seriously, which, we're always have to remind ourselves not to do that. So to rediscover this childlike joy for creating with these 25-year-olds, all younger than my daughters.
So how was it for you to like step out of this? You said that you like stepping out of comfort zone, right? And this clearly is that. So how does one really, become vulnerable? Because art is that, and it's crucial to sort of be that with a bunch of people that you're just getting to know, right?
Right.
How did you manage that? Did it sort of happen one rehearsal at a time, one sharing at a time? How did that happen?
Yes, definitely. One sharing at a time. And, this idea of, being professional, first of all, in the context of dance is always difficult for us dancers. And I think that's crucial. That's crucial to any, in India, especially when, we look at dance as, yes, it is enjoyable. It is a wonderful activity that we share, but there is also an immense level of professionalism in this space that we must bring to it. So I think relationships that are in this situation, clearly I'm choreographing the piece. I'm directing it. I have invited these dancers to dance in it. So there is a sense of there is a mentor-mentee relationship to some extent, for sure. But beyond that, I'm also looking at them and what their fresh input, not necessarily ideas, but inputs are bringing in. Sometimes it's as simple as looking at a dancer during a rehearsal and seeing something shape completely differently and following that instinct, right? Sometimes it's just that. But I think this sense of exchange, again, going back to not taking oneself too seriously, right? We're doing this because we love the art together, and so we are trying to be in the space together. So dancing with them makes me vulnerable, first of all. But creating this piece and choreographing it and directing them puts me puts me in the space of a mentor. So then there is that dichotomy as well, that that seesaw on which one has to find the balance as well. But ultimately, we begin every rehearsal with a meditation or stretching. And in whatever we've done outside or before that, before coming into that space, today we cut the cake for some celebrations in the group. And but then once that is done and we come into the space and I guide them in a meditation, and that's it. Then you are in that space physically, mentally, emotionally, all of it. So then it's just the dance, nothing matters beyond that, after that.
Fantastic. What I also found interesting, Vidya, is that in creating this work, not only are you putting yourself, of course, out of your comfort zone and creating something,
Mm.
but also I think you're also bringing a group of dancers who don't necessarily have the opportunity of working together to actually like share space and energy and get
Exactly.
to know each other. So I
Yes.
think it's also fantastic that so many sub styles, dancers who are trained in so many sub styles, a word that I just learned from you, are also sort of sharing space and energy. So how has that been, like when you watch them, how have they sort of, as 20-25 year olds who are navigating all the challenges of what it takes to be a full-time dancer in a city like Chennai, some of whom belong here, some of whom have decided to,
Yeah.
sort of make Chennai their home. What have been your key observations like in terms of how that group energy has shaped up?
It's the one thing I've learned is that it's impossible to lump all dancers in Chennai into a box. So I find that every time I meet a dancer, there is a different box that I can put them in, right? And so these dancers are each coming from a very different space, a very different relationship with the dance, very different history, very different teachers, teaching style.
Aspiration.
All of it, yes, all of it. And so um, for them, it also right at the beginning there was this sense of awkwardness and this sense of there is it takes a while to trust and to a while to feel like this cohesive unit that is going to dance together. So it's not just about dancing together, right? So it's about being together in that space. And a lot of them are solo dancers also. They perform solo outside of this
Right.
space. So, which means learning to exist in a group is in an ensemble is in itself a lesson in vulnerability, a lesson in letting go of that ego, and a lesson in also getting out of your own head and saying, I'm not here as a solo artist. I'm not here to just shine by myself, right? So it's what is your investment in this work as a whole? And that I have tried to from day one make it the priority, I would say, to sort of talk through that the work is most important, right? And so for them, I think it helped them relax, and they have hung out without me, when I was in the
I'm
US.
sure.
And yeah. So I'm so happy, and that they've all actually found, except for two of them, the others didn't know each other at all before they
Oh,
came into this work. And now they are
your
a
friends.
giggling, laughing bunch of friends, and it's lovely.
That's great. That's great, Vidya. So, Vidya, I want to sort of just ask you just a question or two really about Damaru itself and the music. I know that we're going to be having a separate Instagram live conversation with the musicians as
Yeah.
well. But I want to ask you a little bit about, once you had this idea and once you knew that what you wanted to investigate in through the production, what was your starting point for reaching out to the musicians and how did you envisage it?
Mm. So, if I told you that it grew from wanting to create one solo piece to becoming multiple pieces that entered into this production.
Right.
Um, the each without giving too much
Yeah.
away about each of them. Some of the first composition is something that is brand new to this work, and it is a beautiful amalgamation of Drupad and a Jati and a Stotram, right? So it's sort of marrying multiple languages, genres, and into one. And for this, I had music and the Jati, except for the Drupad, the other two sections were composed or tuned by Vijay, the person Vijay, whom I work with on Nattuvangam.
Right.
And he's given a beautiful, brilliant Jati, using the word Damaru itself.
Right.
Then for the other compositions, there's so much that has percolated over the years that some of these compositions, the duality in them just kind of rose up through this work, I would say. The Varnam, for example, a Varnam which I'm constantly performing solo, it is a very traditional Dandayatapani Pillai Varnam. But that Varnam when you look at it, when you turn the lens, on the opposite, in the opposite direction, and explore this idea of singularity to multiplicity. So this single naika becoming multiple naikas, and but not necessarily just multiple nayikas meandering and yearning and seeking, but this sort of coming and in and out of this singularity and multiplicity was very interesting for me in the Varnam. So it's a very traditional composition, but I've looked at it through this lens of multiple dancing bodies. Then the third composition is a Tumri, which is a very old composition that I have worked on long, long ago, but I've completely changed it for this, and that's a solo piece.
Okay.
I'm going to be doing. So again, I won't reveal too much.
Yeah.
The last one is the music has been created by Praveen Sparsh. It is a completely rhythmic composition, and it's if just thinking about it gives me goosebumps right now. So it's just so vibrant, and so
Okay.
those are the musical inputs, I would say.
Fantastic. Vidya, just one last question before we sign off is
Yeah.
really about Nardagana
Mm,
Sabha. The work is premiering
mm,
in Chennai at the
yes.
Nardagana Sabha. You also have a really special relationship with so many sabhas in Chennai. Tell us about your relationship with Nardagana Sabha in particular.
Yeah, Narvadan Sabha was special, has always been special because of Appa. Appa was very involved with Natyarangam. He was the founder, one of the founders of the Natyarangam, the dance wing of Narvagana Sabha. And it's been a long history for him, more so. I think when I was growing up, I used to live close to Krishnagana Sabha. And through Appa, Narvagana Sabha became close to me as well.
Right.
And of course, Chennai is is the space that I grew up in, and can't think of any other. I mean, it's sort of this, when you look at when you're looking at presenting a new work, there's already so much that is not under your control, that is out of your comfort zone, and there is this sense of trepidation. I mean, there is so much responsibility and authenticity, and the sense of excitement with which we choreograph and with which I choreograph and put the work together. But once I present it to the audience, it's no longer my responsibility. It is, it becomes a shared responsibility. It's something, and there's a lot of trepidation and excitement before that. So when I'm looking at doing something like that with a work like this, for me, the comfort zone of Anardagana Sabha in Chennai makes complete sense to do that. So this sense of opposites again, if you will. So Chennai is home now for me, and I hope it will be a beautiful launching pad for DAMARU going forward.
That's fantastic. I do hope that Damaru gets to travel all parts of the country and the world, and wishing you all success, Vidya. I feel like this is just the beginning because I am going to have a conversation with the dancers of Damaru and with the musicians of Damaru before finally witnessing Damaru. So thank you for giving us that first sort of preview. We're
Thank you.
also going to be running something called Ask Me Anything, which will start on the Aalaap Instagram handle tomorrow onwards, and you will be the first one. So this is an opportunity for the dance community to take a moment and ask you a question, and for you to just be able to share that with a larger universe. So thank you, Vidya, for always making conversations so interesting and insightful. And looking forward to seeing you again soon.
My absolute pleasure, Akhila. Always a pleasure to talk to you. And yes, I'm looking forward to the Ask Me Anything as well. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
And in 2 weeks, Damaru, everyone do come and do get your tickets. Come and watch us.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Vidya. Take
Thank you,
care.
Akhila. Bye.
Bye. Bye.